Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Mental Health Therapist Hub, a podcast by a gal who's been there and teaches new therapists every week. Today, I am here with my bestie,
Hey.
with literally the therapist I trust most in life, the godmother of my children. I am here with Lena. Lena, would you care to introduce yourself to everyone?
Yeah, Lena, she, her, hers are my pronouns, and I am the founder and clinical director at Interfaith Bridge Counseling, where we work with tweens, teens, and 20-something. So really that 10 to 35-year-old age range. Yeah, here in Colorado, just kicking it as a therapist.
Cool. We met 3 years ago, 4 years ago.
3 to 4 at this. It has to be three, because
Minimum 3.
minimum 3.
Yeah, because I think I was a year into my practice when we met. Yeah, so just about 3. I wonder what it was like meeting someone to just network, because that's how we originally met.
Yeah. I mean, I think we talk about this often when people ask, how did you two connect? Or like, I don't know, they ask like, why are we buddy buddy? And I think the thing that I'm aware of is like we were connecting just like any other normal networking. Yeah, we were just meeting, I think nonchalantly in some ways, like any other networking experience. We were connected from a mutual professional, someone you were working under the practice of at the time, someone that I've connected with over the years and have referred to and gotten referrals from. And she just thought we should connect because of teens. And yeah, so we did that like kind of old fashioned one-on-one networking where we would like send that Google Calendar, that casual email, Google Calendar invite, and hopped on a Google Meet and then went through what I would consider, and I'm curious your perspective, but like what I would consider the basis for networking, which is like tell me about yourself. What is your jam? What's important to you? How do you work? What ways can I support you? And then vice versa, to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it was definitely just like networking 101. At the time, I was seeing mostly teens in the practice that I was working for. I didn't love the work, but I think the person I was working for was like, maybe if you meet a teen therapist, it'll like help you feel more confident in doing it. Da, da, da. And I was like, okay, I mean, sure. I mean, I feel like I do an okay job at it. The teens don't hate me, so sure, I'll meet with someone. So we definitely had the one-on-one, and then I remember, was it me or you that said there was a particular modality we both thought was just so dumb?
I'm pretty sure it was you because you were testing the waters, I think,
Yeah.
with me.
Yeah.
And to be fair, right, as you should, not only as a clinician, but also as I would say a pretty overtly confident white woman, right? Like you tested the waters with me to see
Yeah.
if I agreed with you or not. And you and I
Yeah.
solidified, I feel like,
Yeah.
in that.
Yeah. Yeah. And what was so funny to me was your reaction. You were like, yeah. There wasn't even like a beat that you missed. And I remember being like, okay, I can refer to her. I can refer to her. Yeah. Hell yeah, I can refer to her.
Exactly. Well, and especially like, I mean, as you know now, like I love teenagers, right? I love supporting them. And it's seeing a therapist where they brought it in instead of me bringing it in
Yeah.
of like, what modality do I not get behind? Huge for me because it's like, finally, I have someone that I can refer to. Because especially at that time, I wasn't taking any more clients. I had a
Right.
huge wait list and had been on a wait
Right.
list for a very long time.
Right. And I think I was close to being full, but I wasn't like fully full yet. And I remember hearing you say that you had like tens of hundreds of people on your wait list. And I remember looking at you and being like, how though? That's insane. And I think that opened the door for us to really learn from each other.
Hmm.
And I'm not gonna lie, I learned a lot from you about how to be a licensed therapist. Because I knew how to be pre-licensed really good, really damn well. But I think at that point, it was 2022. I think I had just gotten married. I think I had been licensed for like 2 or 3 months. So I was like, I don't know what I'm doing when it comes to this license piece. So seeing someone who knew, and I think early on you were like, I know how we white women are. We can just go in and cause all sorts of trouble. I was like, oh, wow. Recognition, accountability. All right, can get behind that.
Fairness over here, okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I wonder for you, when did you know that it wasn't just a good person to refer to and that it could be a friendship?
It's a good question. It was definitely 2022 because we had just bought our house. We were about to have one of our Christmas parties. And honestly, I think what the first was that you actually referred to me. You sent someone my way. Um,
Oh, I didn't even remember that.
yeah, you sent specifically from my group. And I think often in networking, it actually doesn't turn into referrals. We say it
Right.
does. All the marketers say
You
it does.
say it does, but it really doesn't.
Yeah, we're kind of selfish,
Yeah.
actually. So it's like, well, I
Yeah.
can figure out how to work with them. I think you actually sent someone for one of my groups, which, on one hand made a lot of sense because you did individual and I, while I do individual, the only thing I could take referrals in at the time were groups. And so you sent someone and they were the perfect fit for my practice. And that to me was like, oh, not only was this someone that I happened to enjoy having met for an hour, it was also this is someone who listened to what type of practice I have and what type of person does best with my approach. And so I think the fact that you listened, really truly listened and internalized that made me think, okay, this is someone I want to know better. And then for me, I just really love hosting events. And I was hosting a Christmas party and I invited you and your husband, and you came in. I think you and I were like, pretty inseparable at the party.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember one moment when you went off, but I found my way back there, and that to me
Yeah.
is where we started being friends. And then also our partners going off in their
Yeah. Yeah, and that is actually a really important point to make.
Mhm.
Not only did we click, our partners clicked pretty immediately, which like, I mean, I love my husband, but that does not happen all the time. Like, it usually takes a lot to like build those close friendships. So seeing them click like that, it was really interesting. It was a good indicator for me.
100%. And I think they would like cringe at us calling them best friends, but like in my mind, they are.
They
Best
are.
friends.
Yeah.
Like they're one of each other's best friends. And they did. They
Yeah.
just like they also clicked off. We didn't see them and like one other, person in the party for the whole party because
The
they were
whole
all having a
party.
great time. And I think for me, I was like, oh, so this means it doesn't just have to be work. It could be work and community because it
Right.
makes it, I don't want to say easy, but like if someone doesn't get along with my personal community, then they have to stay in my work realm, you know?
Right. Right. And I've always found that your Christmas parties were a good way to like kind of gauge that out. Now thinking back to it, I was like, that actually makes sense why she did that. Just to like get a get a sense of why we did that. And I know at the time we both were solo practitioners. I was actually working in another practice. And I wonder, especially since this podcast is for pre-licensed therapists, what it was like networking and making connections being a solo practitioner in your private practice.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it might be important for people to know that I started my private practice pre-license literally the day after I walked across the stage for graduation. I wasn't going to work for somebody else. I have a bit of an authority complex. My giftedness causes challenges in that, and I wanted to do things differently. And I felt pretty confident about marketing. And so when I think about networking one on one, while I don't always think it leads to direct referrals, I do think that it is exceptionally important for getting your name out there, for developing a brand voice, for getting recognition, both with you, but also as your brand, even as a solo practitioner. It's not like I had planned to be a group practice. That came down the vision
Yeah,
pipeline years later. So, networking as a solo practitioner, I think really is the bread and butter, but not in the way that people traditionally talk about it. It allows us to practice boundaries. Yes, you're the type of therapist and person I want in my community. No, you're not the type of therapist I want in my community. It helps us gain confidence to like actually say the type of work that we do. So when I think about like what is it like as a solo entrepreneur or a solo practice owner, it's kind of our practice test. It's our practice stage. so that when we become licensed, when we have 10 years under our belt, we don't feel anxious about those things as much anymore because we practiced it way early on. And that's when we were supposed
Right.
to practice.
Right. Right. That's a really, really good point. And I think your confidence, many folks find intimidating. I mean, I don't get it. Frankly, I don't. I'm not even gonna front. I don't understand how people are intimidated by your confidence. I found it incredibly magnetic. Like I wanted to like figure out, okay, I want to get there. And it wasn't a jealousy piece. It was like she has her stuff together. Like I need to figure out how to get there. Let me ask her.
Uh-huh.
And so I'm curious about what made you feel like you could trust our friendship to share the knowledge that you usually charge people for.
For me, I think community is everything. And like that is one of my core values. Community, mutual consideration, and also newly putting words to, but this willingness to be inconvenienced and be an inconvenience. And I think in that, what that actually means is a value wise is like humility, right? And often when people interact with me, I think they are in direct competition with me because they're intimidated. I come off as grandiose. That's like one of my coping skills, especially when I'm anxious. So not only do I come off with this confidence, but then it's like, oh, I have everything all together, which in some regards is very true. In other regards, it's not. But instead of people like leaning in and getting curious about it, I think they view it as competition and then they try to one up me or they try to access that information from me and then use it for their own without like acknowledging they're going to do it or like giving credit to it. And the thing that I feel like you always do, and I see this, yes, as a friend, yes, as like a colleague, but also as a supervisor and a group practice owner, is you always give credit where credit is due. And that's something that you led with even as a pre-licensed clinician and with humility. Like you didn't come in like acting like you were in competition with me. Or I'm just curious, would it be okay if I picked your brain on this? How do you do this? And then when I shared it, you would then go on and do what you were going to do with that information, but then you gave credit back. And I don't think people actually give credit back. They just want to claim it as their own. So it's like, yeah, of course I'm going to offer that to you. And I also think the closer that you get with a professional, and especially if they become friends, it's like, yeah, I'm more willing to give that to you because you've earned my trust, you've earned my friendship, you've earned access to my community. Not everyone deserves to have access to our brilliance. Just because they're a colleague doesn't mean that they deserve access. And that's a boundary we
Right.
have to learn how to have. I don't think I had it early on in my career. I just willingly gave.
Which I think comes to a really important question. When did you know, or when did you realize that you were giving too much?
When people I would share things with would be making more money than me, tenants or ideas that I had, which is frustrating, right? Because, like, on one hand, I'm a big believer in mutual aid, and I have a practice that has always been a pay what you can scale. And it gives a lot of free resources and mental health support. When people would take my ideas or take what I shared with them, my brilliance, and then charge 3 times the amount and then not even give credit to the fact that I helped them with it. It was like, oh, something needs to shift because mutual aid is supposed to be mutual and it's actually not mutual here.
Right. Yeah. I appreciate your vulnerability. I know that that's probably really, really frustrating. And so now I know you charge $200 for a consultation hour, and I am 100% here for it. Let's also just say that out loud. And I remember hearing that number and being like my whole nervous system just was shocked. My brain couldn't even contextualize charging $200 for anything.
Mhm.
And something that I've always found really helpful in our friendship is you've always pushed me to be more confident because my anxiety exhibits in the opposite direction.
Mhm.
I'm like humble almost to a fault. And I'm like, well, I have the Socrates mindset. I don't know anything. There's nothing that I know. I'm the dumbest person in the room. I'm the dumbest person in the room that I have the most to learn. And so I'm wondering what it's like to help another therapist build their confidence being their friend and it not impact your confidence.
Interesting, because I think that's also what we do as clinical supervisors too, not just as friends to each other, but I think that is a vital role of being a supervisor of other therapists. So, like, to those listening, if your supervisor does not instill confidence in you, like you should look at getting maybe a new supervisor.
Supervisor.
Um,
Yeah,
because
that's
that's
true.
like a core pillar.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it comes to potential, right? And this is true for friendship, this is true for self-confidence, this is true for community building, is when you're there, do you have the ability to hold the potential for that person? So for myself, right, I have the ability to hold that potential for myself. I can see where I can honor where I've been and where I'm going. I can hold that potential. I can do that for my loved ones. I can do that for my clients. I think that's particularly like a big skill when working with teens and helping them navigate is seeing their potential. And then with you, it was seeing that potential in you where it's like it's not that you can't do these things or that you aren't an expert. I mean, in a lot of ways, you are more advanced than me. I mean, you have more degrees than me. You have more lived experience in other ways. Like I see the checklist, this arbitrary checklist you have going for yourself. And for me, it was checked off. It was, yeah, for you. You don't need to go and get more. You're ready. You paid how much for these degrees in time
Yeah.
and labor and money and aggressions? Like you're ready. And I think we can acknowledge that that's where I think white confidence is important to this is what we can take from the confidence of white people like myself,
Right.
which is the bar is low. It's low. We are told that we can do whatever we want when we want.
Yeah.
And if we
Yeah.
went to college, even better. And that's different,
Right.
right? You and I've had plenty of conversations around how that's different for you. You've had to
Right.
prove a lot of things through, especially your education, degrees, and certifications to present yourself as being an expert. But if we are shifting this, part of it is recognizing like, can we take that from white confidence that you did school, right? And this is I'm saying you for everyone.
Yeah.
You've done the internship. You've made mistakes. You've learned from mistakes. You have the mentors in place, the next supervisors in place. You're building community. That's why networking is important because it holds us accountable. If you're
Right.
doing all these things, then give yourself the confidence. Don't wait for someone else to give it to you. Accept the gold star that you've been holding in front of you so that you can just do it. It's cognitively exhausting if you don't. And so like, yeah, what is it like? What is it? How do I do it? It's like, yeah, I saw your potential from the moment that I met you. One in us aligning. It's like, well, if I see myself in you value wise and you are someone I would refer to me, it's like, well, you're already on my level then because there's a lot of people I'm not going to refer to because we don't align. And I'm really clear in that. But for you, it's like, yeah, I see that. So if I'm charging this, why wouldn't you charge that? If not more.
Yeah. We have the if not more conversation. I'm not there yet. I'll know that I'm not there yet. I know for myself, our friendship has built a sense of confidence in me to do a lot of things that I didn't think I could do. Like, I remember when I told you about this podcast, you were like, oh, yeah, I had a podcast for a little bit. I think you could do it. I think it would be great. And it was no, like, I don't want to say questioning, but there was like, yeah, if you do it, I'll support you. I'll be a guest, whatever you need. And I find that really lacking in a lot of professional relationships and a lot of friendships. And so knowing that our audience is pre-licensed therapists, I'm curious about what advice you would give for folks who are finding themselves building friendships with folks that they start networking with.
Man, this is so relevant just in like so many hubs that I'm talking about. And I think it's really understanding what is community. We actually don't have a lot of experience with it. That's what I'm recognizing. We all value it, especially as therapists. I think a lot of us therapists, because we hyper focused on relationship and wanting to know how to do it and how to make it better, and we wanted community. and it makes sense that therapists value community, but I think we're terrible at it. And what I think we're terrible at is not the building rapport and building the entry levels to these relationships or even in depth relationships. But what we end up being really challenged with is the idea that, back to kind of what I named earlier, is the willingness to be inconvenienced and the willingness to be inconveniencing. And so we get wrapped up in like not wanting to share those things, or if we do share the things that we want to work on, the response from the other person isn't that focused on their potential and their greatness. We then focus on that competitiveness, and then we tend to cut people down. And it's like, well, I don't want to be inconvenienced by supporting you, or the fact that you may have had that idea and I didn't have it first. I don't want to be inconvenienced by that. So I'm just gonna, like, I don't have time. I'm gonna put it under that excuse of I'm just exhausted, I'm burnt out, I'm doing too much. And it's like, well, but if you want community and you want quality community, you have to be willing to be like, yeah, I support you. What do you need from me? How can I show up? And it not just be money. I would love for all of us to be making that money to share with each other. I mean, I know I have an unspoken rule that if I ever win the lotto, like you're getting at least 1 million from it. But like,
Cool.
the reality is we can't always exchange our money, but we can exchange so many other things. So it's like if you're going to network and you're going to build friendships, think about your willingness to have your time and energy impacted by somebody and how that can be your currency exchange, because it means a lot to me when you show up for the things that I need. When, we do this all the time in those Facebook group referrals. We see something for the other person, we're
You
naming
mean
that
me?
person
Right.
or that person at their practice. We're tagging
Right.
each other. We're hearting each other's comments so that
Right.
people see,
People see
right?
it.
And anytime there's a post on social media, we interact with it. There's just so much. So it's like your willingness to be impacted when you're building friendships. Can you be inconveniencing? Can you be vulnerable and share with that idea you're a little nervous to take on, or you may not think you're good at, but you're going to try with that person? That's probably a really good sign that they're going to be a friend of yours.
Right.
If if not, then like maybe you should reflect on why you're not willing. And then it's like, are you willing to be like, yeah, I'll do that for you. I'm not going to give you my money because I need it in this world, but I will
Yeah.
give you things that will lead to money because
Right.
I back it.
Right.
Does that
Yeah. That does.
Okay.
That absolutely does. And I know it may look like our friendship is all sunshine and rainbows and it all works out, but there've been a lot of tears, tons of tears. Yeah, I remember.
Especially over accounting. Both of
Oh
us.
gosh, especially over accounting, payroll. It's a stress. And like, fun fact, y'all, Lena loves the admin side.
I do.
And if you're watching this on YouTube and you see my facial expression, that side makes me want to crawl into a hole and hide. Like, actually, like, I do not naturally have a business brain. I don't. It takes a lot for me to do that. And Lena naturally has that. And back to my original point, it may seem like it's sunshine, rainbows all the time, but there have been a lot of tears and there have been a lot of disagreements.
Yes.
Like, there are some points where, like, we probably, like, stung the other kind of hard. And we're like, oh, that was harsher than I was expecting. But we always managed to repair.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about all the times where we have stung each other. And I think what's different, and, shout out to all of us therapists that also see a therapist.
Yeah.
What my wonderful, wonderful therapist often reflects to me is like a quality relationship allows you to heal and be a better village member with that person. And so we're allowed to make mistakes. So I think I can be a lot more blunt than you, especially when I'm
Yeah.
unmasked, which like,
Yeah.
Josie gets that especially on Wednesdays if we're like at Aquafit together, because I'm like, I'm at my capacity, like this is my way of like self-care and decompression. So if we're gonna hang out afterwards, I'm unmasked and I'm way more blunt. But I would say like part of that is also recognizing like the truth of it, which you do. You always see the truth of it. But then, I don't know, tell me if I'm wrong. Like my willingness to come back and name like, "Hey, I wanna check in and see how that landed with you."
Yeah, that's very
As
true.
while it was true, and I think I needed to say it, like, 1, I could have delivered it better, or 2, I just wanna check in on the impact. And you vice versa, we do this you do the same for me. Relationships don't, especially in, I think, professional, when you have, like, this dual relationship, right? This is part of why they don't want us to have it with clients, because it's sticky,
Yeah,
and
it's
it's
sticky.
hard, and it's activating. You have to be willing to have conflict. You can't have an in-depth relationship without conflict. And
Right.
you and I, somewhere along the line, I think unspoken, made the agreement that like we would always come back and hold each other
And figure
accountable,
it out.
but also take responsibility when we see it and practice apologizing and practice moving through conflict, not in avoidance of conflict, but in hopes that we'll have more and it'll only get better when we have it.
Yeah.
Because we both come in
Yeah.
with friendship trauma too, to be
Yeah.
real.
Yeah. And I think I may have a little bit more of this than you, but I think I have more experience of like things not working out and just either friendships or something in business, like just waiting for the other shoe to drop. So I think I know for myself, it was relieving to know that the other shoe wasn't going to drop. We would figure it out, even if it's messy, even if it's uncomfortable, even if we go back and forth and disagree or we agree to disagree.
Mhm.
That's just kind of the long and short of it.
Yeah, because being friends and being colleagues, like you've been saying, doesn't mean that we have to agree 100%. You and I have
No,
strong opinions on things that we are in
we
disagreement of.
do.
I mean, to be
Yeah,
real with everyone, Josie does family and couple. I'm the type of teen therapist that like a parent has to be doing their own therapy. They have to have done like a whole checklist before they even have the ability to talk to me. Right? And I changed my we are opposite. Josie's like,
yeah,
"We're a family." And I'm like, "No way, we're never gonna agree on that. That's okay."
right. Yeah,
The goal is not to agree on that. The goal is to
no,
understand why we approach it the way we do and when the other will be helpful for what.
yeah. Because there have definitely been situations where I'm like, you know what? I'm running out of fuel. You need a level of bluntness where the therapist is not going to need to build any level of rapport with you. Go to Lena. Like, I'm like, no. And sometimes you're like, they need a little bit of softness. They need to sit together as a family. And I'm like, sure, bring them my way. So that's very true. We have very strong differences and very strong disagreements on things. I mean, just the fact that you're a professional counselor and I'm a social worker, that's even one big one too.
Yeah, which like again for people listening, hey Josie, like, I came in hot. I feel like at the beginning of our friendship being like, "You're the first social worker I like. You're the only
And that stung. That stung.
It did sting. I I remember. But it was true for me, right? I was like, I think, and I'm gonna, love me or hate me for this. I was like, social workers don't know how to counsel. And while I don't agree with that statement now, I also would say and still say, like, there are a lot of people in our field who should not be in our field, both in counseling
Right.
and social work. I up until I met you, the experience was a lot of it was social work, at least in the counseling route. And it's like I met you and you changed my mind to that. And I think that that's another big piece when we're talking about building friendships and community within our professional realm. Be ready for your concrete opinions and prejudices to need
Change.
to change because that's the
Yeah.
goal, and you're only going to change those by getting closer to somebody and being in conflict and moving through that conflict. Like it's impacted me so much so that like I literally now have a social worker intern, right? But the
Yeah.
5 years ago, Lena would be like, you couldn't pay me enough. And I love my social worker intern, right?
Yeah.
But that came
Yeah.
from a friend, a really good friend, a best friend, being a social worker, somebody that I just said yes to networking to, that I didn't think was going to change my mind in those ways.
That's very, very true. Yeah. I definitely think some of my cemented ideas also changed. I think you changed my mind in thinking that every white woman therapist was competition.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah. 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 Because there was a point in time, and I've said it on the podcast before, where I had the real belief that I needed to come up in here and do this thing better than every white woman out there to prove my place and prove that people of color need to be in the therapy room, which is true. We do need to be in the therapy room. But I had very black and white thinking about it. It was like, well, white women suck at being therapists and they can't do nothing right and they just go around causing harm all over the place. I have to go clean up all their stuff. And I definitely held that belief. And I think you changed my mind about that. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Well, and I wonder, is that also in part in seeing like the type of people that like we work with and who we've hired? Because
yeah,
that speaks more volumes than I think like actually whatever it is that I did or like centering my whiteness, right? It's like
yeah.
we have so many BIPOC and we just have marginalized, oppressed individuals. That's like our
In our
jam.
practices. Yeah.
And that's who we hire too.
Right, right, right. Yeah. And fun fact, I expanded to be a group practice the year before you did.
Yeah, you took in
Or
for me.
I took interns the year before you did. And so you were able to see a lot of my like stumbling with that first kind of group and a lot of my learning there. And a huge part of being a really good, just even just good colleague is cheering someone on when they're doing something new and they're still figuring it out and all the pieces aren't put together. And I know when you took interns, I hopefully was able to do the same for you, of being like, yeah, you're going to kill it. Learn from my mistakes. Don't do what I did. And I think that makes me want to talk about group practice a little bit. We both have group practices now. We both didn't think we were going to have group practices, which
Mm.
is really funny. And something we connected on early on was the fact that we both were not going to be group practice owners. But now look, we both are.
For two people who value community so hard, the idea that we were so anti-group practice, and because we were like all these people, that didn't
Right.
like I would say we both had, maybe prejudice is too strong of a word, but we had some
We had some biases.
group practice, other clinicians, how we work versus other people. Like, even though you and I were practicing some things and working on those biases, like, yeah, it is funny in retrospect to me, just given our love of community and our value of community that
Right.
we share.
Right. It's actually quite hilarious. And I think we both had our challenges, past and present, with being group practice owners. And I wonder what it's like to have a friend to go through the experience with, but that you're not directly either having to report to or having to work with, but you're on a parallel journey with someone.
Yeah. Well, I want to give credit where credit is due in that I would not have become a group practice owner if I hadn't seen you do it. I mean, I think I started with an associate, not an intern, but
Hmm.
it didn't last long, right? It was like less than 6 months. We knew you helped me figure that out. And then it was like that pivot to like, oh, I'm seeing what Josie can do. And then the role switched. You held my potential for following suit. And you know what's interesting? This is just popping into my mind. I had a friend before you and I became friends. I had a friend who was building a solo practice a little bit after me. We had gone to the same school, they were a year behind. I helped them build it. We led groups together, and then they needed to move out of the country. And it was a devastating loss for me because I didn't have another colleague that was also a friend for me to talk about these things, because we think about
Oh, I
business.
didn't know that.
Yeah, we think about business as like business, like this is just our
Right,
job. But when you're
right.
a practice owner, whether it's group or solo, it's incredibly vulnerable. We are so aware of our mistakes and our lack of knowing things and our need to figure things out. And so when that friend left, it was not that I lost their friendship. We're still really good friends today, best friends, but they're not a therapist in that way anymore. And so it was like I lost a place to be vulnerable where I could show up and someone could meet me in that. Unintentionally, you became that person. And so being able to watch you, witness you move through becoming a group practice and then also choosing to do it was like, I think was one of the most nurturing things for me. And I would hope for you to be like,
Yeah.
we don't have to do this alone. I'm angry. I can call you at 2 in the morning and you're going to pick up the
Yeah.
phone.
Yeah.
We can be looking at our books and having to reconcile and be in tears.
Yeah.
We can be worried about what to do next. And even, you know, your maternity leave, you going into labor early and you knowing that like Lena's got it. Lena's gonna call all the supervisors and put people ready to go.
Yeah.
Having a friend to go alongside you, I think is necessary. It's vital for our success and our well-being and our ability to stay in this field and keep doing the work that we do. Because without
Yeah.
you, and I even think without that other friend, it's like, I don't think I would have stayed in this field. It's just not sustainable to do it by yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. I even forgot about my maternity leave, how you had to jump in essentially run the practice because I was in labor. I forgot about that. I blocked that out of my mind. But you
Domino effect with some of your team members, just like some things that were happening to them on the same day. It was just like, it was rough for everybody,
right. Yeah.
but you had to get through it.
Yeah. And I think that's a huge part of friendship is getting through it.
Yeah.
And knowing that once that friendship is solidified, you can just really trust that they're going to not only have your back, but you can trust them so much to be your eyes and ears, even in the worst of situations. Like if I knew if I was hospitalized tonight, like Lena's in my professional will, I don't know if I told you that, but like she's the person who like I know would make the practice decisions necessary to make sure that everything gets done well in my absence. And of course, that doesn't happen overnight. That took what, almost 4 years to get there, but it's worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's worth it. I mean, we know that our field has high suicidal rates.
Right.
How would that change if our friends also were part of our professional community? That doesn't mean
Right.
all professionals need to be our friends, but the
Right.
ones that we align with, like we can stop being in competition or just seeing each other as an ends to a financial goal. Can we actually reduce that? Because people don't understand what we have to go through every day, especially if you are a practice owner, whether group or solo,
Right.
and especially for those pre-licensed trying to do it.
Right.
There's a
Right.
lot of pressure out there.
Pressure.
People telling you
Right.
need to pay your dues, and da da da, and that wears on us.
Yeah. Yeah. We both started our practices pre-licensed. That's very true. But we should share how our friendship has grown to what we're doing now. Because we're doing a lot of really cool things now. We run a group supervision together for counselors and social workers. And when I finally get my act together and get the MFT in addictions counseling, we'll throw them in too so that they're all in our group. We share an office space
Yep, that's new.
in Denver. That's due. That's like what, a month or two old?
Yep.
So now we're like actually sharing financial expenses and having to have financial conversations. And what was so relieving, you tell me if this was true for you too, when we were like trying to figure out where we wanted to put everything, we didn't necessarily agree on everything, but we were both willing to compromise. And the biggest things that mattered to us, we agreed on.
Yes.
Like, fun fact, I wanted Lena to have the bigger office. This is a funny story. I wanted Lena to have the bigger office. In my mind, I was like, I was traveling when we were looking at offices and like, she just did so much work. Like, she should get the bigger office, get the bigger windows. Like, she should just get it. But then I ended up putting my furniture in the office and it didn't fit. I had too much stuff. And Lena was just like, just take the bigger office. This is not transactional. Like, it's
Yeah.
not that deep. You're like, I have a couch and a chair and toys. Like, this is not that deep. And that was a very corrective experience because I think many times I thought of things being so transactional
Hmm.
of like, if you do this, then you deserve this. If you do this, you deserve this. And so it was really nice to do that. And also, we both agreed on like being very resource driven in our space.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I think when people hear like we share a space, they automatically think we're like combining our businesses, and that's not true.
That's not true.
No, we have no
Lena and I could never combine. No.
all the time. Even they're like, "Oh, so how is it going combining?" We're like, "We aren't combining.
Not
No, we
no
can't combine." We know our limits.
lies.
Also, good friendship. Know your
Know
limits.
your limits. Like, could we start another business where like it's not therapy?
Yes.
Yeah. Like we could totally be co-partners and co-founders of something that ain't a therapy practice. But we practice way too damn differently.
No.
I am on the accelerated experiential family systems, get everybody in the room and hash it out, and that ain't Lena. I'm gonna tell y'all that right now.
No. No. Yeah. We would just be fighting. Know your limits.
Right.
Know your limits. But in us coming into a space like, yeah, our willingness and part of why we decided to come into a space is because I was experiencing some pretty extreme ableism in the space that my team and I were at. And, fun fact, my entire staff is chronically ill and or disabled. And not everyone works in person, but those who are, and our clients also tend to be around that realm. Those who are, like, I'm on site with them and I too am disabled. And it was like the aggression that my team was experiencing, yeah, the disability front for some of my team of color members, like that was some aggression, and it was kind of just all coming out, and I was starting to be like so anxious and feeling so unsafe in that space, a space that I only had to go to once a week. And
Yeah.
it was like the idea that you needed a new space and you needed the ability to have more of the office days and access to the office. And I needed a space where my team and I could feel safe, and we needed less days. And we could come in and that just happened. Like,
Yeah.
I could say, this is the type of cleaning product we need to use, and you go, okay. And you
Right.
say, my furniture doesn't fit. I need the other office. Okay. For us to be like, where can we find some colors that align in our branding and it
Yeah.
just be okay?
Okay.
It
Yeah.
doesn't have to be a big deal, but I think often the idea is that it is a big deal.
Yeah. And I think it was pretty easy for us to do it because there was a level, like you said, of being willing to be inconvenienced and a level of selflessness because we, just like we want to see ourselves succeed, we so desperately want to see the other person succeed too.
Yes, absolutely. And I think that extends to all the different things that we do together, right? Even like we didn't even name this, like we don't run each other's intern programs together, but we behind the scenes have access to each other's intern programs so that
Right.
we can, one, I think, keep each other accountable for what we're doing,
Yeah.
but two, also learn from one another because we don't run our internship programs the same.
No.
But, like, even in that, it's, like, just the trust, and I know that's like, we're saying it and we do make it sound easy because there are a lot of people who don't deserve to be trusted. There are a lot of people
Right.
who will take advantage of you.
Right.
But, again, like you keep saying, Josie, this has been over the course of 4 years, and being willing to show in smaller ways how to be inconvenienced and to be inconveniencing, how to have conflict and repair, how to compromise and have fun, like smaller, letting it scaffold so that we could get to this point
Right.
together and it feel easy.
Yeah, absolutely. And the trust is just there.
Mhm.
Like, I have twin daughters, as everyone on the podcast knows, and Lena is one of the three godmothers.
Yeah, I
It
love it.
wasn't even a thought. Like, I'm like, I want them to be cool. I don't want them to not be cool. So all three of their godmothers need to be cool.
We are pretty cool, all three of
And
us.
all three of y'all are pretty cool. So I'm like, those are real criteria for us. Loyal, caring, passionate, cool.
Well, we can get that.
Not weird. And like able to teach some level of social skills. That was a huge piece. And so that trust just took a long time. And I don't think it's the end
No,
of it.
no.
Like, and one thing I want to name is showing up when you don't even when the other person even isn't even expecting it is also a big part of building good friendship with colleagues. So Lena experienced a grief. Was it a year ago now?
Yeah,
Maybe
about a year.
maybe about a year ago. And I didn't tell her. I just sent her this big basket to make sure that she and her partner were eating.
Okay.
Was that like an inconvenience? I mean, kind of, not really, but it's about figuring out what it looks like to show up well. And it
Yeah.
was really funny because I like texted her like, "What are all your allergies again?" she like wrote them all out. She's like, "Why is Josie asking me about her allergies?" And then she sees the food. She's like, "Ah, okay,
Now I
cool.
know. Yeah.
Now I know." Yeah,
And what? I mean, it is technically it is inconvenient, right? Like you had to take time out of your day. You had to think about it. You also those things aren't cheap. Like all of those
true.
things, like I list those out not to just like reassure, but like, yeah, it's inconvenient. Especially when you're like growing a practice and you're like, where are you going to pay people? Can you pay yourself? Especially in this economy, like yeah, it's inconvenient. And also in that time, you allowed me to take a break, facilitating, and you just handled it. And, it also looks like on your anniversary, yeah, I'm coming over and I'm watching the girls. And while I'm
Yeah.
there, I'm gonna tidy up at the house. Not because I think you expect that of me, but because I'm here. Why wouldn't I? And I have the energy. So and your husband could go have your time and honor your relationship and know that the girls were safe. Yeah. It's a Saturday night. Was it a Saturday night? It's like, not that I had anything else to do because I probably
I
would have
think
hung
it
out.
was. It was either Friday or Saturday.
Yeah. So it's like just being able to show up.
Yeah. Yeah.
People
That's
don't like to
huge.
show up anymore.
They
We know that.
don't. And I hope all the listeners are able to see the importance of showing up,
Yeah.
how big of a difference it makes. As we wrap up, I'm curious what people can look forward to see from you.
Well, my team and I have all agreed that we will be re-engaging on social media because we have a lot of thoughts and things that we talk about together, things that we want to see in the world. So I think you can engage with us and see us putting those thoughts out into the world and hoping to create even more community and mutual aid. We are expanding to add even more groups, if you can believe it, for our
Wow.
teens and young adults. We're adding duplicates of the groups that we have, and I'm not going to be facilitating them. I'm letting my team do it. Josie was a big part of reassurance in that and holding the potential of my team
Yeah.
to allow me to get to the point where I can say, yeah, they are ready. They can do it. And I don't have to be in the room. So groups and, we're just out here doing our mental health thing. We'll be doing individual and group counseling and supervision and expanding our internship program next year too at Interfaith Bridge.
That's awesome. Well, I'm thrilled for you.
Thank you.
And I really appreciate you taking the time to do it with me and be able to be in friendship and be in this podcast. Because I think in my mind, I was like, I can't ask anyone. All the episodes have to just be me by myself. I just have to figure out what to talk about. You were like, I can come and we can do the thing. Like, we came up with this idea of this therapist besties episode in what, like 10 minutes? And me telling of the podcast, it was pretty hilarious.
While we're sitting in an office putting together furniture with zero instructions for the whole day.
That's so fair. Well, I'll have all of Lena's info in the show notes so folks can be able to find more about her. And I'll also include the group supervision that we run together and stuff to just be able to figure out what she's doing, where she is. Because I know you table at some things in Denver too. So people can find you at those places too.
Yeah.
Well,
Oh, that is a big piece. We are starting to connect with breweries and more houses of worship and just kind of third places in the community for us to just be there on a Saturday to
mm,
and just learn how to more immediate things you can do to take care of your mental health. So tap in so you can come meet us and our team just on various weekends throughout
cool.
the area.
Cool. Well, I'm glad I said that.
Me too.
Well, thank you again, Lena. And thank you all for listening. Again, this is the Mental Health Therapist Hub podcast by a gal who's been a new therapist and is training new therapists every day. Thanks so much. Have a good night.